Welcome to the fourth devlog for Wyld Land, the 2D bullet hell MMO that I've been working on for several months now. We've got a lot of ground to cover, including the results from Alpha Test 2, loot drop changes, corrupted dungeon tweaks, pets, new bosses, announcing the date for Alpha Test 3. But before all of that, I have an exciting announcement. I've officially quit my job and started working on Wyld Land full-time. Up until now, this has been a nights and weekends project for me, so this is a huge step for the game. I'm very excited about the support that the community has shown thus far, and I can't wait to make the game a success so I can keep working on it for a long time to come, and maybe even hire some additional help. Speaking of working on the game, we finished up Alpha Test 2 about 2 weeks ago, and it was a smashing success. More than 300 players participated in this test, which is triple the count from the last test. If that kind of growth keeps up, we'll be taking over the world in no time. We also had a really great time welcoming Sebchuf, who streamed the game during the test. It was so cool to watch all the excitement that generated for both the existing Wyld Land players and for Seb's community to see a new game in action. There were a few major bugs that were exposed during that time, in particular a situation where the network connection would half fail and cause enemies to just get stuck on the screen and stop firing at you, as well as a few old bugs like glitch samurais teleporting into walls. They're not supposed to be quite that glitchy. Luckily, I've already got both of those fixed in preparation for Alpha Test 3. In addition to bug fixes, there are some major mechanical changes I'll be making based on your feedback. First off, loot drops and the Infusion System are going to be tweaked quite a bit. Legendary and exotic loot is going to become more rare in the overworld, and you'll have a much better chance of getting it in boss fights in high-level dungeons. In addition to that, how many spikes a weapon drops with is now capped at lower tiers, and rarer spikes now drop more often in higher tier content. This should give you a strong incentive to farm for gear at higher levels. Also, when infusing gear, you'll now have to match the archetype for guns. So fusion rifles have to be infused from other fusion rifles, and there are new legendary and exotic infusion core items that you use up when doing an infusion. You get these by destroying legendary and exotic items you don't want. There's also a chance to get an exotic infusion core from destroying legendary items as well. All of that together should hopefully give a good reason for you to want to farm higher tier content to get your ideal weapon, and the restrictions on infusion should now make it a bit more of a strategic decision to choose when and how to upgrade your gear. The other big new thing in the last test were the corrupted dungeons. This is currently the most challenging content in the game, and allows the difficulty to really ramp up as mutations are added into the mix. Overall, I think people really enjoyed this system, but the scaling was making it so that when you got to the highest levels, you basically had to take 0 hits just to survive. Overall, I want the game to be more forgiving than that. You should be able to make mistakes and still complete the content, even at high levels. In the next test, I've reworked the corrupted dungeon system so that the health and damage scaling of the mobs isn't nearly as high as it was before. A well-geared player should still be able to take several hits and survive. However, to keep the pressure up, corrupted enemy damage is now a permanent decay on your health pool. So if you take a few hits in the first room of the dungeon, when you go to the next room, you're now at a disadvantage because you have less health to work with overall. So you've still got a really strong incentive to take as few hits as possible, but taking a single hit or two isn't going to result in your death, and you have more control over how much you want to push your luck and continue in the dungeon. You'll also have an opportunity to cleanse this damage. I'm still playing with exactly how that's going to work, but currently you get a chance to cleanse every 4 rooms, which means the last few rooms before the boss fight are really important. There's an exciting new feature coming to Alpha 3, pets. These little guys don't really do anything super special yet, they're just fun to have around. Cute little guy. There's a whole new pet slot in your inventory, and you'll be able to find these little guys as rare drops on bosses in the next test, so get ready to start acquiring a whole stable full of companions. And in addition to pets, I'm pleased to announce that there will be more than 5 new bosses in the next test. I did a survey after the last test ended where I asked the community what they were most interested in seeing added to the game first, and more boss content was really high on the list, right behind bug fixes. And I'm continuing to learn how to challenge the players in the game, so you can expect some real doozies in this next test, including a super challenging boss fight designed by community member Fransky, our first community contributed content. Awesome. Without further ado, I'm officially announcing the next alpha test for Wyld Land will take place starting December 6th. Mark it on your calendars now. My hope is that this is the last alpha test, and after that we'll move into beta testing, where it will be all about polishing the game, adding more content, and opening it up to a wider audience. Hopefully more of those major bugs from the last test are squashed, and I didn't introduce too many new ones, and then we'll be good to go. Thanks so much for watching and playing. I'm incredibly excited to officially say that Wyld Land is my full-time gig, and I can't wait to play with you all again in just a few short weeks. See you soon!